So, we have been getting a lot of questions about the 3 stages of the Capstone project, specifically related to the written synthesis, which takes place in the middle of your process. So you were expected to do research, as you all know, and then you were supposed to present those findings in a written paper, 2 to 3 pages in the middle of this process. Then at the end, you have your real-world application or your final product, and a lot of kids have said that they're not sure what this written synthesis is, what its purpose is, what it looks like. Once you've done your research and you start to give some really deep thought as to what it is the research shows you, you get an opportunity to write a brief paper that presents your findings, that lets us know what it is the research has shown you, and then step 2, where you're going to go from here. What is the direction you're going to follow now, and what does that end product look like? So to make it as simple and straightforward as I could, I would say that's what you're doing. You want a 2 to 3 page paper that shows what your research has demonstrated to you, and then what you're going to do with it and where you're going to go now. It's important that the research component be a big part of this because so many of the teachers in this building, including myself, have spent a lot of time with you guys on the research process, and now of course we're looking for it to be applied in the Capstone project. A lot of times students have done all this research and they can show it to you, but when it comes time to actually cite those sources in a meaningful way in a paper, sometimes those sources and research disappear and they're not cited properly. So what we're looking for now is, this is what the research has shown me, and now this is what I'm going to produce at the back end of this process. I had a couple students that I wanted to help in my film criticism elective. I wanted to just encourage a couple of kids not only to do subjects that interested them highly, but also give them some real exemplars, some real models of what a final product would look like. One student came to me telling me that they wanted to write a real, authentic-looking film analysis treatment or a screenplay. So I had several of them in my room, and I lent those out to my students so they could actually see what a professional film treatment or screenplay looks like, but then they wouldn't stop there. They would go do more research so they could start to study the different ways that screenplays are written, how they physically look, and how they're structured differently, which is what this student would probably want to put in their written synthesis. They want to show the research that different forms of film scripts and screenplays exist, that they're written differently, that they're structured differently, and that they look physically very different on the page depending upon who the writer is. So this student's going to write their own, but it's not going to be a copy of the one I lent them. It's probably going to draw on multiple different sources and multiple different scripts so they could create something of their own, something fresh and unique. Another student of mine kind of linked the film elective with the semantics elective. This student came to me with this idea that they were very, very interested in the subject of social media and the larger mass media and the way they portray women in that structure, in that domain, and how that influences self-esteem, how that influences female self-image. And I presented her with a documentary I found called Dream Worlds, which is directly on that subject, and it unified beautifully with so much of the curriculum in semantics. So don't be afraid to draw upon what you're learning in your different electives and actually make those connections. Your teachers will love it.
So I'm here to talk to you about the written synthesis paper, and it should be a paper that's about 2 to 3 pages long. The first thing you should realize is that this paper is a synthesis of all of the annotated bibs that you have done. So take all of the sources that you have been reading and work it all together to answer your central question. Some of the problems that I have seen in the past, students forget to use quotations in sources. Get some facts and figures and use some statistics or some strong quotes from experts. After you find your sources, make sure at the end of your paper you have a works cited page. So if you were paraphrasing work from an expert, or if you have a direct quote, make sure that you cite that properly. This should be really easy for you since you've already done the annotated bibs. Another issue that I've noticed that students have had problems with is explaining what research is. In the past, students will say that they have done research using the computer. That's something that we already expect and know about you. But how did you decide to do your research? Why did you choose the sources that you have used? So now that you have started to do your research and you already have at least 10 sources, you are starting to work on your real-world application. And within the written synthesis paper, explain how you're going to start to solve that problem.
I got me a future. I'm not stuck on the past. I've got no